Feast TV is brought to you with support by Missouri Wines, L'École Culinaire, Whole Foods Market at Town & Country in the Galleria, and the Raphael Hotel. This episode is dedicated to all of you sugar lovers. We are focused on confections. We're going to be making torrone and peppermint meringues, and then we're going to try making marshmallows that are dipped in chocolate, and also brigadeiro. Never heard of that? Well, keep watching. I'm Kat Neville, and this is Feast TV. Yes, this entire half hour is dedicated to sugar. And we're going to be learning how to make a range of confections, some that are very familiar, like marshmallows, and others that are decidedly not. And I am going to be making 3 different chocolate confections, and you're going to be amazed at how easy each one of these items really is to make. And I'm going to be pairing all of that chocolate deliciousness with a port. Missouri grapes are very well suited to making fortified styles of wine, port in particular. And this is a Norton port from Adam Puchtis. Looking forward to that. And the very first confection that we're going to learn how to make is marshmallows. The ones that are made at Russell's on Mackland in South St. Louis are delicious. They have a touch of salt to them. They're coated in chocolate and toasted coconut. And let's go talk to chef owner Russell Ping right now. I'm here at Russell's on Mackland in St. Louis, and I'm here with Russell Ping, the chef owner. We're going to learn how to make homemade marshmallows, which a lot of folks, they think they just have to buy that stuff in a bag, but you can make marshmallows at home during the holidays.
Very simple. Yeah, so basically all we're doing is making a candy, but then putting it into the mixer with a little bit of gelatin to whip a bunch of air into it. So basically that's all marshmallows are, and then you can flavor them any way that you want to.
But you make it sound easy. So kind of show me the process.
Okay, so we've got sugar, and we've got corn syrup.
Now, one of the pieces of equipment that everybody will need to make this is a candy thermometer, right?
Correct. That's the most important part. It's a little bit of water. As long as you've got a good candy thermometer and you can get this to 240 degrees, which is the softball stage candy making, you're in good shape. A little bit of salt just to give it flavor. I use kosher salt. You can use table salt.
So do you just let this sit?
Yes, you let it sit and you don't want to mess with it. Once it starts, you don't want to stir it.
Explain to me why stirring it messes it up.
You're basically just crystallizing the sugar that's in there. So you're taking cold sugar and you're reintroducing it to that hot sugar syrup, and it'll crystallize the whole thing. And then you just have to start over.
Is this where you would add flavorings, or would you add that when it's being whipped?
We'd add the flavorings when it's being whipped.
Okay.
But you can add extracts, you can add different oils and things like that to it while it's whipping.
It's just so different. The texture's different, the flavor's different when you make it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, we're at 240 degrees. Technically the temperature is 241 for softball stage. If you're going over or under, you want it to be slightly over and not under, because the marshmallows won't set up. I've got a little bit of gelatin in here.
Okay.
That's been blooming with just some cold water, just to help stabilize. So this is gonna go in. I've started on low so you don't get sugar in your face. And then once it's kind of incorporated together, go ahead and...
Look at all that steam coming out.
And then now all we're doing is just mixing air into this hot sugar. So it's gonna take about 8 to 10 minutes, and this will turn from liquid to nice and big and white and fluffy.
It's already changing.
Yeah. And then once it about doubles in size and this bowl cools down a little bit, we'll add the vanilla to it. You can add bourbon to them, or rum, or espresso.
Instead of the vanilla?
I do it with the vanilla.
With vanilla,
yeah.
Okay.
So the marshmallow is done. So now we're just gonna pipe this into little plastic molds. You just wanna make sure that you don't get a lot of air into the mold. So just hold your bag down at the very bottom and pipe up.
Can I try?
Yeah.
So you just put steady pressure?
Correct. Yep, perfect. So then we're just gonna take these candy sticks and right in the center. They need probably about 2 hours to set up. If you have time to let them sit out overnight, that's the best. Now that these are set up, they're ready to dip. So this is like the moment of truth. I got some melted chocolate we just did over a double boiler. And we're just gonna dip them and then roll them in the coconut.
So what are some other ideas for ways that you can kind of dress up your little marshmallow?
Our favorite way in the holidays is either white or dark chocolate and crushed peppermint.
You're killing me. That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I'm speechless. I just want to eat it and have a really like dark cup of coffee with it. It'll like really balance it out.
Yeah.
Yay. All right, we should cut the camera so we can eat.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna start off with truffles, and you might think that they're difficult to make. They look really, really fancy in those beautiful boxes, but really it's quite easy. So I'm gonna weigh out 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate, and the way to get it to be accurate is you put your vessel on top of the scale, and then you hit the tare button, and it will zero out the weight. And then you just start adding in your ingredient. There we go, exactly 8 ounces. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop my chocolates and put them right back into this bowl. So this is my unsweetened chocolate. I have 4 ounces. You want your chocolate to be in roughly 1-inch chunks, and the most important thing is that it is uniform so that it all melts at about the same pace, because what we're gonna do is just boil some heavy cream and pour it on top. So if the pieces are irregular, you'll end up with chunks at the end, which you definitely don't want. And so next, heavy cream, that's all it is, and I just need 2/3 of a cup. I'm just gonna bring this to a really nice boil. The cream is at a rolling boil. It is very hot, and all I'm doing is pouring it on top of the chocolate, and then I'm gonna let it sit for 5 minutes. You wanna make sure that you let enough time elapse that the cream melts the chocolate, but not so much that it cools back off again. I'm just gonna start stirring, and you'll see that the chocolate and the cream just start to come together. You wanna keep stirring until it's fully incorporated and smooth and glossy. Then you just pop it into the refrigerator for roughly an hour so it's firm enough to roll into balls. And presto changeo, I happen to have a made-for-TV version that I made last night, and I already took a bite, and it's delicious. So I'm gonna portion this out here on my sheet pan. I have a little clump of the truffle mixture, and I've pushed a hazelnut into the center and just kind of rolled it so that it is a ball. You just keep rolling until you have used up all of your truffle mixture. You could also do a peanut or a piece of candy. You can also flavor your truffle with different kinds of liqueurs, but you can go in any way that you want. So I'm choosing to roll my truffles in powdered sugar. You really can do anything that you want, but you want to have some sort of a coating, because as you can see, these truffles, they'll melt in your hands. So I'm just going to put a little bit of powdered sugar onto a plate. Take my truffle, roll it around, and that is it. I remember the very first time that I made truffles as Christmas presents, everybody was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what you made, and they had no idea how easy it was. So I'm gonna keep rolling these guys while we head over to Kansas City. We've been to the Flavor Trade building before, and so we're heading back, and we're going to meet the woman behind Bonbon Candy Company. She is Brazilian and lovely, and the brigadeiro that she's making are completely unique. I had never seen these before, and I'm really excited to introduce you to them now. I am here with Marcella in the Flavor Trade building in Kansas City, and she's gonna show us how to make a Brazilian confection called brigadeiro. So just give me a little bit of background on what brigadeiro actually is.
So brigadeiro is Brazil's most famous candy. It's been around since 1950s. There are a few stories how it was created, but the most common one is that these ladies were campaigning for a brigadier, hence the name.
Okay.
They were campaigning for his presidency, and they were making these candies for the campaign.
So today you're gonna show us a gingerbread version.
Yes, very Christmassy. So we will start with browning some butter. So the most important ingredient in brigadeiros is condensed milk.
Okay.
That's the base of it. So we'll do a can of condensed milk.
So even in the classic chocolate versions, it still has that condensed milk base.
Yes, the classic one, it would be pretty much like if you Google a recipe, it will be condensed milk, a couple of tablespoons of cocoa powder, and butter.
Oh,
yeah, it's really simple and easy to make.
But to me that feels very mid-century, very 1950s, using like the canned milk and... I mean, condensed milk is gorgeous, look at that.
Yes. Okay, so now we're gonna put our other ingredients.
Okay. Now are the classic ones spiced or is this just for Christmas?
No, this is just for Christmas. Yeah, one thing about brigadeiros is that if I could compare them with something here in the United States, I think it would be chocolate chip cookies. Because there's this sense of nostalgia about the brigadeiros in Brazil. You eat them when you're a child and you have all these memories of making them with grandma or making with your friends, you know. And they're so versatile, like you can make whatever flavors you want. And then you just have to keep stirring. One of the secrets to brigadeiro is to use low heat. Okay. You have to keep stirring, otherwise it starts like getting really lumpy well, I like how it gets lumpy when you're eating it, but if you're, it doesn't look pretty. So you can tell it's ready when it starts. You see how it moves like one big thing there?
So at this point, what do? You just take it off and let it cool?
Yeah, so at this point, I would pour it like on a plate or something and then let it cool. Okay. I think it's easier to roll them if they're cold, so if you put it in the fridge, it's really easy to roll when they're cold. Perfect. They're very sticky, so you get your hands dirty. You put some butter in it.
Oh yeah?
So you just get a pinch.
Okay. I've never buttered my hands before.
Yeah.
This is a first.
I like it. You smell good. And then you roll them, and then you can roll them in whatever coating you want. I think like for this one, a good one would be crystal sugar. Also, we made some gingerbread cookies, and you could roll in gingerbread cookie crumbs. So,
perfect. And these are just some chocolate sprinkles?
Just some chocolate sprinkles. And we also have white chocolate.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
My first brigadeiro.
Yay!
Yeah, yay. That's really cool. The next chocolate confection that we are making is chocolate bark. All we're gonna do is melt chocolate, spread it out, and then put good things on top. So all I'm gonna do is chop this into decent sized chunks and get it into a double boiler. And the reason why we're using a double boiler is that it's much more gentle than putting direct heat onto the pot with the chocolate. So all I'm going to do is stir this chocolate until it's fully melted. Then I'm going to turn off the heat and continue to stir for about 3 more minutes until it's cooled down enough to the point where it's going to be able to spread beautifully. Okay, it's melted. I'm going to go ahead and take it off of the heat, lift it up and away, and that steam will go away from your face. So I'm just going to continue to stir this for another 3 minutes while it cools, and essentially we're tempering this chocolate so that it will have a nice sheen to it and also a really good snap when we break the bark apart. All right, I think we're just about there, and the bowl is cool enough to handle. So I'm just gonna spread this out on the parchment paper. How gorgeous is that? Just spread your chocolate out. Make sure it's not too thin. You don't want to be able to see the parchment paper through it. This is the fun part. You can flavor it however you want. I am doing a Mayan spicy chocolate, and so I've got some really fun stuff that I'm gonna put on top. So salt and chocolate are wonderful together, but just a tiny, tiny bit of salt. Sprinkle from up high so that you make sure that it's evenly dispersed. And then we're gonna add a little bit of heat. This is cayenne, but I love the combination of heat with that rich, rich chocolate. Just a little bit of cardamom. It has almost a floral aroma to it, and you only want a tiny bit of this as well. And some cinnamon. Oh, I love the smell of cinnamon. You want to be a little bit more generous with this. And the final touch is just a little bit of fresh nutmeg grated over the top. And that's it. So I'm gonna set this to the side while we visit with Anne Croy, the pastry chef at Pastaria in Clayton, Missouri. She really specializes in Italian pastries and goodies, and she is going to show us how to make torrone, which is an unbelievably delicious treat. We are going to be making torrone, which is a classic Italian confection. I had torrone for the first time when I was in Torino, actually, and it was transforming. I mean, if you've never had real torrone, real nougat, then you just don't even know.
Right, right. In the pot right now, we have a mixture of wildflower honey and then sugar. So we just bring that to a rolling boil. We bring it to 315 degrees and then cool it down to 300.
Okay.
And that goes into the egg white. Everything that you get here in the States, it's not made with honey that it's typically made with in Italy, like a citrus honey or chestnut honey. So you can imagine the flavor that's imparted from just the honey.
It's incredible.
Yeah. We're going to separate 6 eggs, and the whites will be what we use.
And so what was the volume of honey and sugar that you had to the 6 egg whites?
6 egg whites are paired with 6 cups of sugar and 2 cups of honey. We use a local honey. It's from Angela's Family Farm, and it really adds a lot to the flavor. So it's just kind of perfect.
I know, it's wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm so excited that we're able to show everybody how to make it.
It's very simple. I love that about it.
Well, and that's really the point, is that you look at these confections and you think it must be so difficult to make, but for the holidays you can absolutely get in the kitchen and make something like this for your family.
It's about really, really good ingredients and technique, and you can make any kind of nougat.
That's great.
Okay, so when you're beating your egg whites, there's a window of time there before they get completely stiff, where they're opaque and the bars are tracking in the egg white, that you're at a good place where you can start adding the hot sugar syrup.
Perfect, and you think it's down to the 300 degrees now, so we probably can go ahead and stream it in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this comes together.
Yeah.
It is so creamy looking. That's incredible.
It's important to, once you have all the sugar syrup incorporated into the egg whites, to act quickly. You need to add your flavoring elements, or your nuts, or your dried fruit, or whatever you want to add to your nougat quickly, so that it doesn't begin to set up before you pour it out into a pan.
Otherwise you'll never get it out.
Otherwise you will never get it out.
That is just sexy, Anne.
Yes, it is sexy. I agree.
Wow.
Luscious.
You don't need to work out. I mean, this is this is enough work for one day. Look at that.
And it's, you know, it just reminds me a little bit of working with concrete, a softer concrete.
But it's amazing to me how quickly this came together. I mean, since we started shooting, it's been maybe half an hour?
Right. Yeah, you can, once you have all your ingredients assembled, it doesn't take a long time.
And the whole idea is that you're going to spread this out and then let it really set, and then you can cut it into different shapes.
Yes. So the thing that I think most people in general struggle with nougat is the cutting of it. Putting it in the freezer for 10 to 12 minutes before you actually begin to cut is going to be a lifesaver. The other thing is you don't want to use a serrated knife and saw because it starts moving the torrone.
It really has that orange.
Yes.
It's really complex, and the texture is amazing. This is delicious. Thank you. Okay, I don't know what you guys are doing the rest of the day. I'm just gonna sit here and eat this.
No.
The last sweet treat that we are making today is a peanut butter and pretzel bonbon. It's perfect for the holidays again. And so all we're going to do is mix together a cup of peanut butter with 4 ounces of cream cheese on the stove. I've just crushed up a bunch of pretzel sticks. I'm gonna add in about a cup. And the last ingredient is just a cup of powdered sugar. And while this is cooling, I'm just gonna go ahead and melt, again, on a double boiler, the chocolate that we're gonna dip these into. Okay. Once again, remember, steam will burn you. So remove the bowl so that the steam escapes off to the side. And then just continue to stir your chocolate so that it's properly tempered. You just take your little ball, roll it around in the chocolate, let the excess drip off, and put it back onto the waxed paper. Super, super easy. I'm gonna keep dipping these guys and rolling them around in this fantastic dark milk chocolate. And while I do that, the last confection that we're gonna show you are peppermint meringues. We're gonna head over to Kansas City and meet the wonderful folks behind Natasha's Mulberry and Mott. These peppermint meringues are so much fun and they are delicious. They are like little minty clouds. So let's go chat with Natasha right now. I am here in Kansas City to learn how to make meringues with Natasha of Mulberry and Mott. And these are very festive. They're peppermint flavored.
Yes, yes, peppermint and chocolate.
So take me through this. It looks like it's going to be very simple, but it's very technique driven.
Yes, first we're going to boil our sugar and our water. We're going to bring it to softball stage. And then we're going to have our egg whites whipping. We have 4 egg whites. We're not going to start them yet. We're going to get sugar going first. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the stove. The sugar is almost ready, so I'm going to turn the egg whites on. And then I'm going to add a pinch of salt and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. So once your egg whites are foamy, you're going to add your sugar. So when you kind of swirl it around in your bowl and you pick it up, that is what you should be looking for.
It's beautiful.
So we'll add our peppermint extract.
So what other flavors could you use?
Basically any extracts will work just fine. You just have to be careful not to, deflate it. Make sure you fold when you're mixing.
It's gorgeous.
Okay, so now for our piping bags.
Now this is the fun part because these aren't just regular meringue cookies, they're striped.
Right. You'll take the green and I'll take the red. So start as far down as you can and make a stripe that goes up.
So is this right?
Yes. Yes, you can do big stripes, little stripes, it doesn't matter. It's all gonna come together. Once we get the meringue in there,
okay.
None of this matters.
That's very reassuring.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so then, let's see that one. Okay, so once you get all of your meringue in your piping bag, fold it up and push the meringue down without going too far. You don't want it to come out yet. Okay. You can do any shape you want to. You can make hearts or whatever you want. But today we're going to do circles. So you start in the middle.
I just can't stop.
Keep on going.
I'm going. Yours looks perfect. This is a work in progress.
Just do it every day for a couple of weeks and they'll start to look exactly like these do. Okay, so these are done. And we're gonna take them to the oven and let them bake.
I'm gonna start making meringue all the time. People are gonna get sick of it.
Okay. So, you can temper your chocolate, which is kind of a long process. This was tempered, but I let it sit a little too long, so now it's not tempered, which is good because then I can show you. If you don't want to temper your chocolate, you can just melt your chocolate and add just a couple of drops of oil to it, and then you don't have to temper it. All you do is dip.
Yum. Yay, Natasha, that looks fantastic. You've got the chocolate, you have the crunchiness of the meringue, you have a little bit of that peppermint flavor. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah.
I put these in the freezer for just a little bit to help the chocolate kind of set up. And here is the chocolate bark, which has also had a chance to harden up. We've got our little bonbons. This is such a fun just example of the things that you can quickly and easily make in your own kitchen. We've only been shooting for about 2 hours and I've got all of these done. We're gonna be pairing this with port, and port and chocolate go perfectly together. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. The port has a beautiful richness to it because it's fortified. It is a little bit sweet and higher in alcohol, and so it's gonna cut through all of that sugary, beautiful flavor in these chocolates. And this is made with Norton, and Norton is the Missouri state grape. It has a spicy and almost Zinfandel-like character, so it really is going to be a fabulous match with the chocolate. So cheers and enjoy all of the sweet treats.